Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and yes, took a little bit of a break from Expanse Season 4. Like I said, I wasn't even sure if I was going to do these on a weekly basis. I thought I could, and maybe I still could, but my dad's already binged watched this, and I'm only on episode 4. I feel like I'm getting left in the dust. And as much as it bothered me, I've had other things to review, but we're back, okay? We're back, and we're putting this back in the rotation. Maybe not every single day, but we're back with the Expanse Season 4. And I want to thank everybody that's been watching. I want to thank all the Screaming Firehawks out there. I want to thank everybody that's been liking and subscribing and leaving comments. Remember, after Episode 5, we'll be giving away one of these shirts. You got to leave a comment on one of these videos and be a subscriber to be a part of the contest. So, full spoilers, if you have not seen Season 4, Episode 4, Retrograde, which has a lot of moving parts, and I'm trying to decide which ones are the most important to talk about. And I think we got to talk about Bobbie's story first. I mean, really quickly, Avasarala has only one bit in here, and that's that she's out of the loop and not happy about it, okay? She's fucking pissed. Like you said, she just wants somebody to pick up a fucking comm. Right? Holden hasn't answered. She knows there's something going on down there. She knows lightning blasts are going off. Somebody needs to talk to her. There is a little bit more with Avasarala and Bobbie's story, so we'll get to that now. So, Bobbie. Oh, Bobbie turns herself in, tells the guy, the foreman, she's been blackmailed, accepts her punishment, and again, what does Mars do for the girl who's been loyal to a fault almost? This guy, we find out that not only does, that there's all this corruption going on, but even people that aren't even directly involved with the immediate corruption are offering to be corrupted straight up. Her foreman's like, go ahead, do it again. Can you? And she quits. And already, he's like, hey, you're only hurting yourself. It's like, holy moly. So she ends up at, Mars Unemployment, where she runs into her friend. And, there's not much out there, which, is kind of sounding like Mars is turning into Earth in a way. Without the war and everything, there's going to be a lot of unemployment. Not as much to do, not as many jobs. It's not probably as bad as Mars, but when they're talking about people having to take janitorial positions now after they come back, it's like, or maybe there's just not enough jobs to go around now that there's no war. And on the news feed, we hear Avasarala's story, just the last bit of her talking about Nancy Gao, and how her whole thing, was just a lie, a cover, she defrauded. She defrauded the government, and that's about all we're getting from that story. And, I really should have started with saying this is a really great episode. We're starting to hit that middle of the road and building towards things. And there's some stuff that happens and some surprises along the way. I'm trying to review these and then talk about them, so I'm sorry that I'm kind of getting back to that. But there are some surprises, some things that are set up, some things that I wish weren't set up, things that could have been dealt with, and I can feel like the story is purposely creating a bigger conflict that could have been avoided. Like I said, though, if it's in the books, then fine. But we'll get to all of those. So back to it. She's basically, Bobbie is being pushed into the position that she ends up in. Where, she goes home, she's drunk after being at the bar. Her nephew's trying to stand up for her, but if it wasn't for him, she wouldn't be in this position. And I've got a sneeze. And we're back from the sneeze. She's telling him off. She's drunk and she's, don't tell me, little shit, what the fuck is going on with me. But immediately, she's arrested. Now, at first I thought, holy crap, man, talk about, you don't even have to, call the cops to get arrested for, being drunk and disorderly. But no, that's not what this is about. She's being arrested because she won't go along. So now she's being they're deciding to put her away for her part in it. Which, to me, is less about, they're kind of still, to me, offering her a hand. By arresting her, they get her close. They get to talk to her. They're actually, in some messed up way, still trying to get her to, they don't want to arrest her, but, she has to go up with this Esai guy, who's, like I said, the priest that I never trusted from The Sopranos, into taking a job with him. And it's a full-time gig now. And I guess basically at this point, it's if you can't beat them, join them. But my heart of hearts is hoping, beyond hope, that this is all a ploy. Or maybe she really has given up and is just saying, like, fuck it. I hope not. I hope that this is something else that she's doing. But, in reality, a lot of times this probably happens to people when they're put in a position. Now, you would think that I'd probably be talking about the events on Ilos last, but I'm not. Because I have the other story that I'd like to talk about last. So first off, let's go back to Ilos, where Amos is captured by Murtry's people for trying to protect Naomi and Lucia, which really sucks because we've got our heavy hitter now chained to a bed. And, I mean, it literally looked like he was going to tear that place apart trying to get out. But he's smart enough to know that they'll just kill him and then he can't protect his people. And that's the thing, like, you're getting in between me and my people, I will fuck your world up. So they better, hopefully when things happen at the end of this, we get Amos back. But Elodie finds out, they talk about how the machine is inert now. Not dead, just not moving. And she wants in on the plan, but it's, as Alex says, sorry, darling, but it's, on a need-to-know basis. And she feels she needs to know. Now, I don't, we've had a lot of characters come in and out of the show and stuff, and I kind of feel like anybody that tries to break into the clique, because I'm not usually into cliques, and I don't think our crew's a clique, but, anybody that tries to break into that, close-knit group of people that I like, I'm always going to be like, LV, just back off. Just back off. Same with Lucia, right? I'm just kind of like, no. We have our crew. Some of our players aren't here at the time, like Drummer and Bobbie and Avasarala, and all that, but no, okay? I like her, but she's still just the scientist character. But she could always, do something, like Prax, who is also not here, but probably just with his daughter. So her and Naomi are trying to get back to the Rossi. And Murtry's basically trying to track them down and kill her. And Holden finds out about this, and Murtry doesn't care. Vern Gorman is so good at these kind of roles. I don't like that it's kind of a typecasting kind of situation, but he's fantastic at this kind of role. And he's just like, I don't really care what you have to say. I don't. If you want to protect your Naomi, tell her to surrender. So, then he tries to get the doctor up in orbit to use the scopes to find Naomi. But that guy, conveniently goes, oh, we're going around. It's kind of like, I mean, they really are going around the planet, but it's kind of the equivalent of, oh, sorry, I'm going into a tunnel. You're breaking up. So thankfully he didn't have to give them the scopes to help them. But he's basically like, shoot anybody. Shoot anybody that tries anything. Any of the belters. Whatever. So Naomi and Lucia, they get close. But she needs to have Holden get there before them so that he can get on the guns. Because they could get a higher position on them. And since Holden, they won't fire on the UN ambassador's, envoy, they need to get there first. But Murtry's already there, and he shoots her, Lucia, however you say it, man. They talk weird, I say their names weird. He finds out, opens fire, and she gets shot. And Alex has to tell Holden that Naomi's gravity drugs aren't working. He didn't want to break his promise, but Holden's like, something's wrong. He thinks she's been shot, but he, in order to avoid him making matters worse, thinking she's shot, Alex breaks his promise to Naomi and tells him about the grav drugs. So, but it is cool though because Holden's able to get there and get the Rossi guns to give them cover fire so that they can make it in there. But Naomi can't stay there any longer, which means that Alex and her have to go back up into orbit with Lucia, who's got to recover as well. Which means that Holden's got to go out there by himself because Amos is in custody and he has to deal with Murtry on his own, which I don't like because even though I know Holden can hold his own, and God, that sounded like a pun, no pun intended, Holden can hold his own. But Burn Gorman has a history of playing characters who do some pretty fucking terrible things. If you ever seen Game of Thrones, some of the stuff he does in that is pretty awful. But Holden goes out there, ammo's up, guns up. I honestly, with the way that they shot that shot, man, I'm saying a lot of things that are similar. I really thought he was just going to get on his knee and just scope this guy and blast him right there and then. I really did, because they were doing that, like, it was very, very cinematic looking, the long walk to him. But he just punches him and knocks the gun out of his hand, and then he takes it. And he says, "You're not in charge anymore." And he keeps walking. Here's the problem. And it's a problem that also happens in a later story, where you have this guy here, right? You have this guy dead to rights. He shot a bunch of people. Now, I know, here's the thing. Lucia admits to blowing up the launching pad. So Murtry is in the right in a way. He's taking revenge for the people that killed his people. Okay, I'm not going to say that he's not. When you find out that information, they all did it, well, then, he's just doing what he's supposed to, like, I don't know, you shouldn't say supposed to, but, like, he's taking down the criminals who killed a lot of people. But the thing is how he's going about it, and just gunning people down. And that's where I say, you're not supposed to just open fire and threaten people's lives or their families' lives. They're supposed to be put in and held, and then judgments is decided, okay? He's not an executioner, because that makes him just as bad as they are. When I did hear her say that she did it, I was like, oh, God damn it. Like, you belters, man. Like, you just shoot yourselves in the foot all the time. And like I always say, man, I am sympathetic to the belters. I am completely sympathetic to the belters. But I'm also a realist. And they just constantly... It's hard to watch because you want them to succeed. You want them to win. You want them to get a place of their own. But this world that they're in, our world, our future, it hasn't changed. The lower class, we're getting into that more in the next part of the review, but the lower class versus the inners and the belters are basically that, and it's just, it's a non-winnable situation. So Holden taking this guy's gun and everything and not killing him is like the right thing to do, but as far as like knowing that this way the plots like this going shows, if he had just killed this guy, we wipe out the threat. Just like there's a threat that could be neutralized on the last part of this review. And I feel like by not just taking this fucker down, the one guy, you take this one guy out, and all you have to worry about is getting the rest of them in line. And honestly, some of them just kind of feel like they'd be easily swayed anyway. And I feel like Holden's also the kind of guy who could bring a bunch of people together that might normally, fight him on something. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like by doing the right thing, they're causing, I don't know. I like Burn Gorman, but I just wanted Holden to take him down. And not for some, revenge kick inside me, just because that's the end of the conflict for the most part. But we got to continue with the conflict, so he's got to stay alive. So we get to the part now that I'm really most interested in talking about, and that's drummer and Ashford's side of things. Kara G and David, Kara G. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And David Strathairn, one of my favorite actors of the 80s, 90s. Currently, if you haven't seen him in LA Confidential, he is fantastic. When Russell Crowe says, Jesus H. Christ, and he goes, no, Pierce Morehouse Patchett. Oh, man. Dude's just a... Or his Whistler and Sneakers, man. Whistler and Sneakers. So, drummer and Ashford get their man. Okay? They got this guy, Marco Inaros, dead to rights. Ashford is on point in this episode. I love it. Because he seems like he was trying to get caught. You know, like there's easier things, you know, and even those guys, you know, like they're offering to kill this guy. They even said they'd give him like 10% off, like they'd give him a discount for killing this motherfucker. Okay, that's how bad he is. He's a mad dog and other people want him gone. A whole lot of people want him gone. But they don't. And I also feel like, you know, drummer's like telling this guy, you're not going anywhere. I know Naomi Nagata. All right? Basically telling him, you're fucked. Enough said. And so I'm like, cool, they've got this guy where they want him, but I'm not satisfied with this kind of, because this kind of character is in similar ways to Bern Gorman's character, Murtry. The single man you can just take out, and all you'd have to worry about then, and I shouldn't say all like it's nothing, but making him a martyr, right, would be a problem, but not, I just, you know, it's only a problem if you write it that way, I guess. And I feel like they would write it that way if they did it, if they martyred him. But we also know now that this guy is responsible for Naomi's son being taken. He took him. Now that's, at least he says, that's your version of events. We also know that when she was with this guy, Naomi did some pretty terrible shit, and she doesn't feel great about it. But this guy, see, he feels great about it all. And he does that thing that they do when they're questioning people, and they give the non-answer. Like, where is he? What have you done with him? What did you do with her son? The best I could. Like, fuck off. Just hurt him. Okay? Break his hand or something and get him to talk. If you really want the answers, I hate these kind of guys that they think that they're the smartest guy in the room. If you keep letting them talk, which comes up later, if you keep letting these kind of characters talk, they always end up messing things up even worse. And he's got a ship that's coming after them. Now, this is where things get interesting. Well, they already were. Because I'm just loving Drummer and Ashford together, working together. And also, okay, I finally figured out, I don't know if I mentioned this before, the Belters. I know what their voice reminds me of, finally. And I probably said this before, I know, a long time ago. But they talk like Waka from Final Fantasy X. It's not a bad thing. It's just that was the thing that had been bugging me forever. Because I hadn't watched these in a while. And that's who they talk like this. Like, they're not Jamaican, but they got that kind of, hey, you want to play, what's that, blitzball, huh? Well, his people are coming. I do like the line that he says, you know, oh, if, you know, if we get blown up, we're dust in the regrets of others. I like that line. That's a pretty good line. But he's got this typical mindfuck conversation where Drummer leaves and like the navigator or whoever or the pilot leaves to go check on some things, go check on some stuff. He tries to do that whole, I'm going to convince you. I'm going to start talking. I'm going to start sounding like I'm making sense. I'm going to start trying to turn you around. I'm going to, you know, I'm a captive, but for some reason I'm not gagged and I'm being allowed to talk. You know. And he's got nice ideas, right? He's got nice ideas. But again, realistically, nobody will let what he wants happen. Okay? They will start a war, but eventually they will get their necks stomped on. And it's just about how many of their people will die, how many inners, because they'd be happy to take as many inners with them as possible, and they would still be back at square fucking one. Now, I definitely think the inners should just let them take an area of space. I think somebody else brought this up of why do they have to be on Nuterra? There are, like what they say, 1,300 other rings that have places they can go. That's just one big thing that, you know, somebody pointed out that if they just found their own, gave them their own planet, they could just be rid of the Belters. But like again, without conflict, there's no drama. Without drama, there's no show. So, but it's, you know, it's the sad state, like I said, the fate of the lower versus the upper class kind of situation, except in this, it's the inners versus the Belters and Mars versus the Belters. But he's talking about how the Mars weapons, the stuff that Bobbie helped get out of there, they're arming up. So all that stuff is going to end up in the hands of these guys. So there is a coming conflict that these guys have. And he's got that, you know, kind of, like again, the Joker or Loki, the guy who kind of is where he wants to be at the time, you know, like even though when he got captured, I don't know if he got captured so he could try to do what he's doing right here, which is to convince people to be on his side and then hope to God he doesn't die, or not. I don't know. But it's similar to that, you know. But we find out that they played him. They played him, and they're not handing him over to the inners. They're dealing with it. They wanted to see if he'd bite, and he didn't. And so, you know, he starts going on, what is my crime? They get a bunch of the other clans, the people from the other ships that show up. You know, he thinks he's got them, right? That they can't fight this other ship when all these other ships show up, and then his guys have to bail. They have to back off. And so these other people from the belt are there to judge him for his crimes. And he's like, what's my crime? And here he goes again, just being allowed to talk and talk and talk. And I'm like, more convenient groveling that isn't supposed to sound like groveling, but it's supposed to sound convincing so that smaller characters like these three knuckleheads will suddenly go, he's making some good points. Let's go along with it. And again, like I said, he's not wrong. He just can't win. I root for them, but it's just, you know, like, nobody wins. I don't know. It's very hard to talk about because I like every certain people from all sides. You know, there's only so many, like I don't know how many people that watch this show can just pick one side and go, I'm all Mars, I'm all Earth, I'm all Belt. You can't. It's like, you know, again, kind of like a simpler or like a kind of a similar thing as Marvel's Civil War. You know, sometimes Cap has points and sometimes Iron Man has points. It's hard to pick just one thing because everybody's got a point. But it always comes down to violence, right? And so it's just like, let's let this guy go and shit gets worse. All right? Because that's just bullshit. This opens up new wars, guaranteed. And just like I said, when they get to who's going to, you know, whether they let him live or die, this guy, Mr. Beardy McBeard, goes life. The other Mr. McBeardy McBeard says life. Now, the chick in the middle, I'm like, okay, life again, you know. But no, she goes like this, and I went, oh no, because Ashford, that he wanted death, which means that the deciding comes down from Drummer, and well, Ashford's talking for Dawes and himself, and Drummer's talking about her and Fred Johnson, and they say life, because he offers to like give money back from the cargo, like that wasn't sold, like give them that. And so they accept it. And Ashford feels betrayed. And you know what? He kind of is. Because he's right. At least as far as the story goes, you wipe this fucker out. Yeah, you're going to have like some people trying to defend his honor, but there's already a fight going on. So, I don't know. I don't like being on the other side of Drummer. And, you know, maybe there'll be something that goes on. There's more information to come. We haven't even seen Fred Johnson yet. Or Anderson Dawes. Probably because Chad Coleman and, good Lord, how do I forget? I can't believe I'm forgetting the guy who plays Anderson Dawes' name because I love him. He's in Chernobyl and The Terror, and it's going to wake me up in the middle of the night. I'm going to be saying his name. like out of nowhere. But they let him go. And this was a mistake. That's like he says. This was a mistake. Damn fucking straight. Ashford is right all the frickin' way. This is an unnecessary way to force conflict, but it is what it is, okay? It is what it is, and I accept it. All right, they've made it. The show has made its decision. Maybe the book made that decision. I don't know. Because I feel like the old Expanse, the way that that show was written and the way the books were, that they'd have still jettisoned this guy out into space. They'd let the chips fall where they may. And I'm sure you guys will let me know if this is what something that happened in the books or something that happened out of order or out of sequence. I don't know. But I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I actually understand Holden's position from not killing Murtry a little bit more than this. You know? And honestly, spacing him, like, I don't know, maybe they could cover it up. I'm making excuses now. Now I'm just going to start rambling. But it's an interesting ending. And even though, like I said, I've seen a lot of shows and I usually know the direction that they're going in. But The Expanse has ways of surprising me. So hopefully here's to some surprises coming up that I don't see coming. But right now, I've seen all of it coming. But I am really excited to go on with episode 5 probably the next day or so. Usually I do all my stuff for the week in one day. So we're going to be talking about episode 5 pretty soon. But in the meantime, if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, remember you got to be a subscriber and leave a comment to win the Doors and Corners Miller shirt that you can get on, God, I don't remember where I got this. I think I got it from Redbubble. Anyway, this is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews saying you can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. If you feel so inclined, you can help make the channel better. We're trying to get lights. I'm trying to buy lights, actual studio-like type lights to make this actually look like it's in HD and not in not just like, you know, a fogged up like crappy camera. So I think it's because of how like I don't have natural light in here. So that's what we're aiming for with those kind of things. But that's just if anybody feels like helping out. That's I'm not pushing anybody. So we'll be back sooner rather than later. Otherwise, have a great day, and we'll see you on the next Expanse video. Bye.